Henrik Carlson writes in a converted stable on a small island farm in Denmark. When a draft stalls, he lies down on the sofa in his writing room, closes his eyes, and starts moving the parts of the essay around in his head. Not sentences, shapes. He has written enough, he says, that the sections of a piece appear to him almost as geometrical objects, and he can feel something happen when he tests their order. This cluster next to that one, nothing. Swap them, and I felt this energy released in my body. That's the right order. He knows how this sounds. That sounds almost wooed, he admits in his conversation with David Perel on How I Write, but that's how it feels. If you love writing, it doesn't sound woo at all. You have felt the snap. The paragraph that suddenly locks, the sentence you move to the top of the page and watch the whole essay reorganize around it, the way iron filings jump when a magnet slides underneath. Carlson, who publishes Escaping Flatland and has become one of the most admired essayists working in English, has built his entire method on trusting that feeling. His interview is the best description of a working writer's inner life I have encountered in years, and I want to spend 3 posts thinking through what he reveals, and eventually what it asks of those of us whose job is to develop other people's judgment. What is writing about, according to Carlson? It starts long before typing. He gives an idea a year. He reads around it, makes notes, returns months later to question what he wrote, talks it over with his wife, lets it sit in. At some point, the material crystallizes into what he calls an animating question, a question with personal stakes. How do I become a better father? Why am I overwhelmed? Only then is he ready, because the question is a magnetic field that pulls the scattered notes, stories, and arguments into shape. Then he writes the way a painter paints a still life. Set down a sentence, look up at the thing itself, compare. The sentence is always a little wrong. Reality, he finds, is much smarter than you are, so he revises against it over and over again, sometimes literally standing in front of a flower, correcting his own description of what he sees. He borrows his working instruction from Wittgenstein, don't think, look. All of it serves the goal he states in the most arresting line of the interview. I want the piece to end up smarter than I am. Writers have hinted at this before. E.M. Forster, how do I know what I think till I see what I say? Joan Didion, I write entirely to find out what I'm thinking. But notice that Carlson's claim is stronger. Forster and Didion describe discovery. The page reveals thought that was already in you, waiting. Carlson describes accumulation. He returns to a draft in June and finds that March Henrik left considerations there which June Henrik has forgotten. The text remembers. Readers write in. Reality keeps correcting. Over months, the essay ends up carrying more wisdom than I have. The page stops being a mirror and becomes a collaborator. And how does he know when it's working? Not by rubric, by body. When the sequence locks, he feels the release, the whole body exhale. Once he finally drafts, he types fast to stay inside the feeling, the way a jazz player keeps the take rolling while the idea is live, trusting that what moves the writer is what survives to move the reader. He wants to laugh and cry and be elated while writing. Perel recognized the phenomenon immediately. His favorite writers are the ones whose work lets him step into some sort of energy field. What neither man does is define the thing, and I notice they don't really try. The closest the conversation comes is a borrowed line from the poet David Whyte, who defined poetry as language for which we have no defenses. I think we can get a little closer than magic, and I say that with love for the magic. Psychology has circled this feeling for decades. Eugene Gendlin, the philosopher-psychologist who wanted to know why some therapy clients improved while others didn't, called it the felt sense, a bodily, pre-verbal grasp of a situation that runs ahead of our words for it. When words finally fit the felt sense, the body discharges a little tension. He called that the felt shift, and it is recognizably Carlson's snap. Antonio Damasio's research on somatic markers point the same way. The The body renders verdicts faster than deliberation does, and we experience those verdicts as gut feeling. The gut, which neuroscientists half seriously call the second brain, votes before the committee convenes. So the writing energy in the page is not a ghost, it is a trained signal, the body of someone who has looked hard at reality, registering that structure, stakes, and honesty have finally aligned. White supplies the reader's half of the definition. When the alignment is real, it arrives past our defenses. A signal like that can be developed. That conviction is what I've organized my professional life around, and it is the subject of my book, The Learn-It-All Educator, where I call this phenomenon taste and lay out a framework for training it, but the framework can wait 2 posts. For now, stay with Carlson's sofa. A man lies down, closes his eyes, and rearranges invisible geometry until his body says yes. Many writers who have described their process in public do some private version of this, and about half of them sound embarrassed as they explain it. Don't be. The snap is real, and it has been quietly running the show all along. When did a piece of writing last get past your defenses? I'd genuinely like to know. The comments are open.
Next week, Carlson writes in his second language, under a stricter grammar with a smaller vocabulary, and his voice is unmistakable. Part 2 asks what an authentic voice actually is.